Hi beautiful people, welcome to the channel, Shantia's new chapter. If you're new to this channel is dedicated to helping you live in a way that feels the most natural to you. Okay, so in today's episode 10 of Worthy, Flirty, and Thriving, I wanted to talk about being the queen of your world and what this means. So this concept is pretty simple, but I might get really passionate about talking about some of the concepts and stories that I've personally learned to embrace and the things that I've experienced. But we will see. We'll see how things kind of unfold in this episode. So, essentially this series is dedicated to helping you step into a place of high worthiness and to helping you to feel more confident and brave about who you are and what you're here to do. And, often I've struggled with this place of like wanting to step out. I think as women, we feel so called to, like, when we're stepping out, when we're stepping into a place of confidence, it really does kind of push us out of our comfort zone at first, because at our core or our nature, or the nature of femininity and feminine energy is humble and kind of like to be hidden, essentially. So when you're stepping out into like using your confidence, you're tapping more into that sacral or solar plexus chakra energy. That is kind of calling for more of your masculine energy to be used. So it does take practice. It does take confidence. I would say confidence doesn't quite come naturally to women, not necessarily. It takes more of a zhuzh, like you have to practice the muscle of it. Do you ever look at men and just be like, dang, how are they just so like they're just like wild, and they just like put their ideas out there, and they're just so accepting, and how do they just own that? It's because it's just in their nature to be out. That's masculine energy, to be out, moving, seen, loud and proud, essentially. So what does being the queen of your world entail? What am I talking about? What am I referring to when I'm saying you get to become the queen of your world? As cool as it would be to be the queen of the world, we're all experiencing life from our own perception. If every woman truly embraced being the queen of her world, there would be no need to compete, to be jealous of other people, or to judge other women. Because you're owning your own energy, you're owning your own source right here in your body. So I like to say the mantra, I am the queen of my world. I'm in control of like the energy that gets to come towards me, and essentially what I'm exuding out, what I'm projecting out into the world. I'm being very intentional about this. And because I'm the queen of my world and I'm owning my energy, people respect my boundaries. They honor my boundaries, but I'm also honoring myself. So as you guys know, in my previous episode, I talked about recommitting to myself. Recommitment. So I essentially made a list of vows. I feel like you should take the time, I'll put that as an assignment with this episode, to recommit to yourself and make a vow to love, honor, respect, and express what does love, honor, and respecting yourself look like, and then also elaborate further onto explaining what are the other things that you would like to cultivate with yourself. So I'm actually going to be creating a new series on this channel called The Frequency of Love. And this is something I think is going to be so fun to explore, because I feel like we often think if people like us, especially as women, if people like us, because we're very community oriented, we think that if people like us, if someone's in love with us or people are in love with us, then this all of a sudden makes us worthy and desirable. And so obviously we know the less healthy way of going out and getting attention, or essentially feeling loved, even though it's not really love, if you approach it that way, is you get validation. So validation requires you to change yourself in order for you to be accepted by others. And as we know, this isn't the best way to approach it, because then you start resenting the world and other people, like they don't understand you because you've sacrificed so much of your desires and your needs to satisfy other people. But this is something that you created by disrupting your own boundaries. So as a queen of your own world, you have to own your own boundaries. You have to own your own boundaries. You have to respect and honor it. And there are two ways to create boundaries. You can create energetic boundaries, where you essentially make a decision and you say, no, thank you. I'm unavailable for that kind of energy. Or you can create physical boundaries. You can just separate yourself from groups of people who are no longer helping you to align with your path. Being of the queen of your world also entails that you have a creative destiny. So instead of sacrificing, you get to choose and you get to co-create with the universe the life path that you really desire to have. So to me, if there are if I would describe in tarot, what is a queen that I would love to embody and who really embodies being the queen of her own world? I think all the queens do, but I would say the Queen of Wands, because she honors and respects her desires. She says, well, this is what I want, so this is what I'm going to get, and this is what I'm going to go for. I'm not going to let someone else dissuade me from my desire. You get to have what you want. And so the thing that we misunderstand is that we think that in order for other people to be happy, we have to sacrifice, right? If we're in a relationship or whatever, in order for people to like us, we have to sacrifice. When really, actually, all you have to do is honor your needs and your desires too. And maybe that might require you to compromise. But I find the more that I accept myself as I am, the more people accept me as I am. So being the queen of your world, truly what it is about is shedding away these false identities of who you think you're supposed to be for other people to accept you. What feels good to you? So I'm sure at some point in time, maybe you watched a woman or you saw someone do something and you admired it and they're like, well, I'm going to become like that woman because everyone likes her, respects her, and admires her and thinks she's beautiful. And that's why I'm going to become like her. When really all you should be asking is, who am I? The self-inquiry. And that can be really scary for people to experience, is for them to actually get curious about who they really are versus who the world told them they were supposed to be. And that is the spiritual awakening. And that can be a painful process, and it can be a liberating process as well. So personally, from my experience, the thing that really helped me so much is I was always a creative person, and I didn't like identifying with just one thing. I was always a little bit rebellious, and I used to think this was a weakness because, I'm sure when you're that child who's like, no, I'm not, or no, this, it feels really rebellious. But I realized looking back, I was just more tapped into who I was. So one thing my dad used to always ask me is he would ask me what part of my ethnicity did I identify with. And I would always jokingly tell him I'm American, because I didn't want to just be one thing. I wanted to be all of it. I didn't want to be limited to one definition of, who I was supposed to be. And essentially this is kind of what I've come to see is the identification with gender or sexuality. It has to do with this evolving consciousness we're learning to embrace, where we're understanding that these outer identities have very little to do with who we actually are. Now, of course, biologically, if you're a man or if you're a woman, I feel like those are just part of your essence. That's a part of your biology, and it's an important part, because without that, we wouldn't be able to procreate in this world. But when we're putting labels on ourselves all the time, and we're attaching ourselves in a very unhealthy way, it can be very limiting. So I'm always open. I want to see how I'm constantly evolving. I want to see how I can create my destiny, create my life, and co-create with the universe and watch it unfold. So I don't need to know everything. I'm just here to embrace what feels really good right now. So truly what you should be asking is, how is this world going to handle me? How is this world going to mold to me? So we think that we're here to make everyone else's life easier. We got it wrong. You're here to make your life easier. And to other people, that might sound really chaotic and selfish to be like, actually, it's about you. But actually, when you give to yourself in a very loving way, there's no need to fight or create war with anyone else, because you're so satisfied with yourself. The people who create disruption out into the world and who want to fight the fight and who want to cause havoc in the world are deeply dissatisfied with themselves. They're having an issue with looking at the man in the mirror. Who is the man or the woman in the mirror? Those people are having a hard time looking at themselves. So the fight that we're really fighting is a fight with ourselves. At our core, we are fighting with ourselves. And we are struggling with accepting yourselves. But I'm like, but the more love you give to yourself, the more deeply satisfied you're going to be in your body, in your experience, and the less you're going to create havoc in your life, and the less you're going to have less unhealthy, codependent mechanisms like overindulging in this activity or that activity. You'll have a healthy relationship with yourself. So to me, I've always had a healthy relationship to food. I eat everything. I indulge, sure, but I don't beat myself up about it. I'm just like, oh, I'm full. I've also learned to honor and respect that. Like, my body gets full, so I just respect that. I don't overeat too much, and I don't punish myself for indulging. I don't punish myself if I break out because I had some sugar. Honestly, eating sugar doesn't feel that great, so that's punishment in and of itself. I'm like, you don't have to punish yourself. So the people who are like deeply dissatisfied with themselves and they create a very unhealthy dialogue within their minds, and they're constantly saying, "Ooh, I'm sorry," or "This is my fault." Those people that are creating that kind of relationship with yourself and judging yourself all the time is you obliterating like your own happiness. That's you attacking yourself. That's you attacking your inner child who just wants to be free and accepted and loved. So you understand that you're here to experience. You've been called into this life, into this body, once and only time you will ever exist in this body at this moment in time, so that you could have a life. So what's the best life? What does that look like to you? To live the absolute life that you were meant to live. The world is here to mold to you. Your dreams are a map. They're a map to what you're here to do. I've literally had the same dreams since I was a little girl. The same dreams since I was a little girl. I talk to myself all the time. I asked my parents to buy me a recorder when I was 9. I wanted to be a reporter at one point, but really I just wanted to talk. I drew ever since I saw my grandfather drawing at the age of 5. I would just like, I'm going to become an artist. And I became an artist. I said at one point in time, oh my gosh, I want to write songs. I actually started to sing songs when I was 9 too. And I reawakened that dream. I forgot about that dream. I'm like, oh, that was a thing. That's right. I always felt inspired watching Oprah help people work through things and talk about how do you open up to more. And I'm like, here I am, I'm doing it. What are you here to do? Now is not the time for you to wait. Now's the time for you to become the queen of your world. So sometimes people think, when they look at someone else, they're like, oh, well, they got the talent. They got the thing. They got the whatever, yada, yada. I'm just like, what other lies do you need to tell yourself to convince yourself that you're not amazing? You were already amazing. Your 5-year-old self knew that, but this version doesn't, perhaps. The one who's creating that dialogue is so convinced or trying to convince themselves that they're not good enough. I teach art classes, and sometimes I work with adults, and the kids, there's a stark difference between the kids and the adults. The kids, they're just like, woohoo, yeah, let's have fun. And I had one kid, he was like, I think it's like 6, and he was so focused and concentrated, and his motor control was just out of this world. His work was just beautiful. The other kid on the other side of the class was like, woohoo, yippee, and his artwork was just all over the place, but he was having such a good time. But both kids were having such a good time. Both of them were just in total acceptance of their personalities and how they wanted to experience art. And then I teach adults, and often their thing is, well, my mom was really creative. I'm okay. Stop being humble, please, please. Something I hear a lot of people say, well, my mom was very creative, but I'm not. I tried to learn how to play the piano. I just couldn't get it. I tried to learn how to draw, but I couldn't get it. We're all creative. We're all creative. How many lies do you need to tell yourself to convince yourself you're not a creative? We're all creatives. We're all infinite creative people. We're all entrepreneurs. I believe that before Kyle C said it. I was like, yeah, we are all entrepreneurs, because aren't we all infinitely creative? Aren't we all full of infinite potential? Aren't we all... We're all a little bit of Oprah, a little bit of, I don't know, what's his name, the swimmer? Phelps. We're all a little Phelps. We're all a little, we all got a little bit of that in us. And these days we're learning that we have these multitude of expressions within us. So, I got a little Picasso in me and a little Oprah in me. Why can't we just combine the two, there's no limits. So really, when this person was saying, I'm not creative, like my mom was really good. My mom knew how to draw. I'm like, well, that's beautiful that you can credit your mom. But what your mom was skilled. She was just skilled. She was probably really good at that thing. But we're all creative. And so maybe you're a songwriter, maybe not the best singer, but maybe you're going to write one song or you're going to sing one song. And it's the exact song that the world needs to hear through your voice, through your experience. And maybe you're just self-sabotaging into telling yourself, well, I'm not, all these, this dialogue that we create with ourselves about how we're not good enough. You've been taught wrong. This world is here to mold to you and make space for you because it chose you to be born at this point in time. You are here. Now's the time to arrive and become the queen of your world and own it. Stop apologizing about not being good enough. I'm like, every day you wake up, you are enough. You're so busy convincing yourself. Does it feel good convincing and persuading yourself how not good enough you are when you actually are at your core? It all comes down to the relationship you have with yourself. So recommit to yourself. Make a vow. Make a list of all the things you're going to create with yourself. I'm going to love and honor and respect this body and this life and this me so much. I'm going to give me the experience of a lifetime. I love myself so much that I'm going to give myself the dream job. It's like caring for yourself so much, like you're your own parent or something. I'm going to love myself so much that I'm going to surround myself with the people who love me and support me. So stop telling yourself lies about what you think you don't deserve. Love yourself so much that you give yourself those experiences. And you're like, I'm going to take care of this body and this life so beautifully, and I'm going to honor it so beautifully. I'm going to give it everything that it needs. I'm going to quit the job that doesn't make me happy. I'm going to spend time with my kids because that makes me happy. I'm going to go buy those pairs of boots that I kept putting off because for some reason I convinced myself that I shouldn't when I have all the money in the world to pay for it. I'm going to go have a vacation with my family. Now's the time to become the queen of your world. So becoming the queen of the world, why do we want to do this? Is because it makes us magnetic. I'm talking about all these things about following your dreams. I'm not talking about getting attention or validation. Did you hear that once? The likes, subscribes, validation. It's not about that. You can't take your likes and subscribes with you to heaven, but you can own this experience in this life so beautifully that you take with you the healing, the memories that you lived the life. I was here by Beyonce. I did, I done, I loved, I was here. Isn't that how you want to go out by the end of the day? Is like, I was here, I did it. I became the queen of my world. So becoming the queen of the world, as cool as it is to be magnetic and attract the success and whatever you think looks good on the surface, I want you to challenge yourself to tap further into your body and be like, but what's going to make me feel alive? What does that feel like, taste like, sound like? Like, what is aliveness? What is that? What is that going to look like for me? Maybe it has nothing to do with getting attention from other people or social media. Maybe it just has something to do with like, I'm gonna start talking to my neighbors more and having like fun interactions with them. That's my dream person. My dream person is someone who talks to people. I don't know. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed that about becoming the queen of your world. And of course, you guys know the outcome of that is when you own all of those desires and you are accepting and loving towards your desires and yourself, you become a supreme magnet. You become a supreme magnet and it all starts to chase you. So I really want people to understand, like, we are not here to chase after a million desires and like, go do this, go do that. It really can drain you of your life force and energy doing that. And you don't have to do that. It gets to come to you. It gets to feel really good. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know if you did. Let me know what you thought. Like, subscribe to support the channel. And I believe I will be back with another episode. So I feel like I'll just continue the series until I feel like it's complete. And that's what I'm going for. Okay. I hope you guys have a beautiful day or evening.